Today, I'd like to recommend a newly released thriller and disaster blockbuster that was specially filmed by France in anticipation of the 2020 Olympics. Not only does it showcase the cultural landscapes of Paris, but it also offers a profound satire on environmental issues closely tied to humanity. Beware of spoilers ahead. A scientific vessel is tasked with carrying out an ecological survey in the North Pacific. Sophia is in charge of this mission, aimed at tracking a previously tagged gray whale shark. Unbeknownst to them, this ecological study soon becomes a deadly wager for everyone involved. As 14 members dive into the ocean, a brutal massacre begins. Sophia, aboard the ship, scans the surroundings with sonar and soon realizes their target has approached. Unexpectedly, the gray whale shark, previously observed to be 2 meters long, has grown to 7 meters due to a period of no observation. Stunned, Sophia watches the screen, feeling something isn't right. The enormity of the shark paralyzes the crew. Yet one of them decides to take a risk. He slowly approaches the beast and shoots a tagging flare, successfully remarking the giant shark. However, this act triggers a violent retaliation from the shark. Witnessing the carnage, Sophia, frantic, grabs a weapon and prepares to dive in to assist. But as she enters the water, she is horrified to see limbs and body parts of her team floating around, realizing they might have all been sacrificed. Terrified, Sophia carefully surveys her surroundings. Suddenly, a shark entangled in fishing nets bursts forth and drags her into the dark abyss. The pressure increases, causing Sophia's eardrums to burst, which shockingly brings her to her senses. She quickly cuts the nets trapping her ankles, narrowly escaping the shark in the depths. Gasping her last breath of air, Sophia miraculously escapes the peril in the nick of time. Fast forward 3 years, everything has changed. On the banks of the Seine near the Eiffel Tower, 2 youths are dredging the river. Their first catch is a bicycle, but the second is unexpectedly an artillery shell, which quickly draws police attention. Investigations reveal the shell is a remnant from World War II. Apart from the shell they recovered, police find 150 or more in the vicinity. What they don't know is that more shells remain hidden beneath the river. Sophia, now changed by the traumatic events, works as an aquarium narrator, seemingly wanting to leave her past behind and thinking her new life won't intersect with the old. However, one day on her way home, a girl named Mika stops her. Mika, a member of a grassroots marine conservation group, is dedicated to protecting marine environments and creatures. Recently, during routine tracking, they inadvertently rediscovered the signal from the gray whale shark. Confusingly, the shark has left the ocean and is heading towards the Seine. Mika seeks Sophia's help to use her experience to guide the shark back to the sea. Sophia finds the idea implausible, believing the signal couldn't possibly be from the same shark, and thinking it impossible to guide it back to the ocean. Their conversation stalls and becomes awkward, prompting Sophia to leave. Back home, haunted by vivid memories of the tragedy 3 years ago, Sophia feels compelled to open her long-sealed computer. Booting up the tracking signal, she indeed finds the gray whale shark at the Seine's banks, heading towards central Paris. Confirming Mika's fears, panicked that the shark could endanger anyone swimming in the river, Sophia follows the signal to the riverside. Normally, a gray whale shark could not survive in fresh water. Sophia hopes it's just the drifted away marker, but she soon encounters a homeless camp, with no one in sight except for a dog barking frantically at the river, perhaps its owner felon. Sophia quickly deduces that the marker could not have floated upstream on its own. After further analysis, she concludes that there indeed is a shark in the Seine. Returning the next day for observation, Sophia spots the shark still lurking nearby. She receives a call about a body pulled from the river by local police, responsible for patrolling and managing the Seine. At the scene, she discovers the body is the missing homeless man from the previous night, mysteriously missing his lower body, likely eaten by a large aquatic creature. Thus, former marine expert Sophia and marine biologist Mika are called in to examine. After observing the bite marks, they confirm the homeless man was attacked by the gray whale shark. Sophia reports to the police chief, recommending immediately closing the water gates to eliminate the shark threat. That chief, skeptical, decides to send a few officers for an underwater inspection, despite Sophia and Mika's warnings of the risk. With no choice, Sophia joins the boat to assist in the investigation, while Mika leads hurriedly. The journey along the Seine offers views of 70% of Paris's famous structures, but no one is in the mood to appreciate the scenery. as they focus more on the potential underwater threat. Using the previous signal, they quickly pinpoint the shark's precise location. 3 fully armed officers then dive into the murky river, where visibility is only a few meters unlike the clear ocean waters. Initially, the officers take the situation lightly, not expecting to encounter any sharks. However, they soon sense a powerful presence. At the same time, an anxious Mika onshore worries the officers might harm the shark. She secretly calls an animal protection organization to ask a friend to hack and cut off the marker signal, aiming to conceal the shark's location. Concurrently, Sophia, having lost the signal, urges the police to warn the divers. Shortly after, the 3 officers safely return to the boat. Although they didn't see the shark, sonar confirms a massive creature is present underwater. Sophia is puzzled by the disappearance of the signal, suspecting it couldn't have vanished without reason. Seeing Mika nearby, she quickly realizes what happened and confronts the marine conservationists. Mika explains her actions were meant to protect the shark, even calling for collective action. Leaving Sophia speechless, while protecting marine life is important, this shark poses a threat to Paris's population. Meanwhile, the officers report the presence of the shark in the river, advising that Sophia's recommendations to close the gates and eliminate the threat should be considered. The chief, however, is troubled as the area is soon to host a triathlon event, attracting journalists and athletes from around the world. Locking down the river is not an option at this point, and he lacks the authority to do so. The only option left is to consult with the mayor. The following morning, the chief and Sophia visit the mayor, who shows little concern for their warnings, prioritizing the upcoming multi-billion euro event meant to showcase Paris to the world. If the event is cancelled due to their concerns, the mayor argues there would be no point in her continuing in her role. Faced with the mayor's resistance, Sophia sternly warns that proceeding with the event could turn it into a massacre if the shark isn't dealt with immediately. The mayor dismisses her concerns, suggesting that any issues during the event would be due to police incompetence. Unable to persuade the mayor, the chief and his team leave frustrated, with the highest authority refusing to lock down that area. They prepare to take matters into their own hands to eliminate the shark. However, an urgent situation arises when a member of the Marine Conservation Group who had turned off the signal comes forward, having reactivated it and discovered the shark had moved into an underground reservoir in Paris. Worried, especially since Mika had pinpointed the shark's location and planned to lead fans that night to try and guide the shark back to the sea, the conservationists sought help, fearing the shark's history of attacks. That night, as expected, Mika and her many followers gather at the underground reservoir, intending to use sonar to guide the shark back to the ocean. While everyone admires Mika's courage and determination, they are unaware of the dangers ahead. At the same time, Sophia and the police rush to the scene, navigating through long underground tunnels before entering the infamous death catacombs of Paris. Here's a brief educational interlude. Paris, in its earlier years of urban construction, had almost hollowed out the area beneath the city, creating a complex underground world. As a result, when it became impossible to build tall buildings, the graveyards became extremely crowded, leading to the relocation of remains to these underground catacombs. Over time, as the Seine broke through, an underground reservoir formed, humorously dubbed the Death Catacombs by locals. As Sophia and the police arrive, Mika, holding the sonar, has already dived into the water. Sophia urgently calls her back, warning of the shark's imminent attack. During their conversation, fins appear on the water's surface, one large and one small, indicating the shark has had offspring, increasing the risks for Mika. Surprisingly, Mika not only disregards the warnings, but also reaches out to touch the baby shark's head, claiming there's no danger. This action astonishes everyone present, suggesting the shark might not be as dangerous as feared. When an officer jumps into the water to retrieve him, she stubbornly refuses to leave. But in the next instant, a sudden and horrifying turn of events shocks everyone due to the slippery, narrow footing. Many people lose their balance and fall into the well, leading to chaos. In an instant, the water is stained red with blood, and the cramped space turns into a slaughterhouse. As the situation spirals out of control, an officer instinctively fires at the shark, but the weak bullets are ineffective. At this point, the only escape route becomes everyone's last hope. As people desperately try to flee, the stampede causes further casualties. Watching the unfolding chaos, Sophia is filled with sorrow and helplessness. This accident results in 12 deaths, and soon Parisian hospitals are overwhelmed with the injured. This tragedy could have been entirely prevented, but some continually underestimate the power of nature. Following the incident, the police conduct an on-site investigation in the well and discover a new situation: a dead baby shark. Among the findings prompts Sophia to reflect. Bringing the shark's body back for research reveals the truth: gray whale shark had adapted to freshwater due to a mutation and had accidentally swum into the Seine, leading to the day's catastrophic events. Upon opening the shark's stomach, scenes of tiny fish emerge, defying logic as shark pups cannot be pregnant. Realizing there was only one shark before, Sophia exclaims that the gray whale shark has evolved, even capable of asexual reproduction, explaining its rapid growth. Everything turns out to be due to its mutated nature. Additionally, the shark swimming into the well was likely to give birth, indicating that the well's location is the shark's lair in the Seine. Urgently, the giant shark must be eliminated before it reproduces uncontrollably and floods Paris. Bat Chief, along with Sophia, revisits the mayor to explain the stakes involved. However, the mayor still refuses to listen, accusing the police of being incompetent. Sophia, unable to restrain herself any longer, sternly rebukes the mayor to reconsider and reiterates the dire consequences if the event continues. Unfortunately, the mayor remains dismissive and even ejects the chief and his team from her office. To prevent public panic, the mayor announces on television that the supposed shark does not exist and that the 12 recent deaths were unrelated to any shark. She emphasizes that the upcoming triathlon is what the public should focus on. With only one day left before the event, the police feel compelled to give up. At this critical moment, Sophia quietly approaches another distinguished officers, persuading him to rally everyone. If they do not address the shark issue, the next day's event could turn into a tragedy. After considerable thought, the officers heed Sophia's advice. They unanimously decide to take matters into their own hands and eliminate the deadly shark, despite the dangers involved. After all, as dedicated officers of justice, how could they ignore the threat to public safety? Following Sophia's plan, the first team reaches the well through the previously known entrance. They dive 30 meters deep, swim through a 20-meter-long tunnel, and enter a highly confined underground tomb where they set up explosives. Using sonar, they attract the shark and, during a brief pause, detonate the explosives, collapsing the structure to block both exits effectively, trapping the shark inside. Concurrently, everyone swims out through another 80-meter tunnel, leading to the expansive Seine, where the second team is ready to assist in case of emergencies. With such a meticulous plan, the team feels confident to proceed. On the day of the triathlon, they must complete their mission before the event starts. Given the urgency, the first team, led by Sophia, hastens to the well and carefully descends 30 meters. After reaching the bottom, they swim through the tunnel, and the underground tomb appears. The placement of the bombs goes smoothly, but an unexpected issue arises during the shark attraction phase. Someone lights a flare to increase visibility, only to discover not one but hundreds of sharks attracted by the light. It turns out that in just one day, the gray whale shark had given birth to numerous pups, and their growth rate was alarmingly fast. Seeing this, the team doesn't hesitate and quickly drops the sonar to retreat. However, several sharks launch an attack, shredding one of the men in seconds. As his teammate picks up the remote to activate it, he too is devoured in an instant. Knowing the bombs are counting down, Sophia grabs the last officers and they hastily escape. Just as they swim out of the tomb, a massive explosion occurs behind them. Simultaneously, Paris welcomes the 2024 World Triathlon Championships. Citizens crowd along the Seine, celebrating as journalists and athletes from around the globe gather, creating a spectacular scene. The mayor, under the spotlight, emerges, expecting the event to greatly boost her career. Following a stirring speech, she fires the starting gun, and hundreds of athletes dive into the water. Their spirits high, unaware of the impending doom. Meanwhile, far downstream on the Seine, the second team successfully retrieves Sophia and the officers. Although they thought the mission was over, Sophia dives back into the river, following the path they had come to ensure the exit was completely collapsed. When she sees the tightly packed rocks, she breathes a sigh of relief. However, the next second, the gray whale shark bursts out, proving the collapse was too thin to contain the ferocious beast. Sophia is devastated, but dares not move as the shark circles her before racing towards the Seine. Realizing the danger to people outside, Sophia quickly surfaces, but as she attempts to board the second team's boat, a terrifying event occurs. The shark seems to mock Sophia, giving her a glimpse of hope before plunging her into despair. Fortunately, Sophia and the officer survive, struggling onto a floating boat. Strangely, the shark does not continue its attack but heads towards the competition area. Minutes later, the festive race turns chaotic as an explosion. Sounds and people start disappearing and screaming. When the referees finally realize the presence of the shark, it's too late. The horrific scene shocks everyone, and screams fill the air as the situation plunges into extreme chaos. No one dares to stay, and as more lives are lost, the celebratory event turns into a massacre. Watching the dreadful scene unfold, the mayor nearly wets her pants. At this moment, the well-trained security forces spring into action, calmly opening fire on the shark. However, the shark's resilience exceeds all expectations. The explosives that Sophia said couldn't kill it, let alone the current gunfire. Perhaps the shark's intelligence has also evolved. It swims towards a pile of artillery shells. It turns out the police had completely cleared the underwater hazards, and plenty of road where ice shells still litter the riverbed. The shark's vigorous movements cause the shells to dislodge, striking the riverbed heavily. One of the shells finally activates, triggering a chain reaction. A violent explosion sends a massive wave crashing over everyone. As the surging waters approach, an officer tightly holds Sophia. The mayor watches helplessly as she's swallowed by the river. It's unclear how much time passes before Sophia and the officers miraculously survive. The place they manage to climb onto turns out to be the top of a building. The officers, trembling, asks if it's all over, but Sophia, looking ahead, falls silent. A shark fin emerges from the water, followed by more fins. Among them, one is particularly large. The original gray whale shark had not died. Looking around, they see that the entire city of Paris is flooded, with all gates and systems completely paralyzed. In the end, the gray whale shark not only conquers Paris, but also spreads across Europe, and eventually other corners of the world through the ocean currents. This concludes the film Under Paris.